Hello, hi everyone. So in this video we will be finishing our script. So we are right here. We wrote this code here. We have created these arrays about A, B, C, D, E, F, and also we have modified the values that we can have in the last element for A, C, and E. Okay, we have a specific syntax here which will point to a certain value that we have in this array, var coin id last pair arrays, depending on what we have as input. Okay, so if we get Bitcoin, it's going to be 120. If it is Bitcoin SV, it's going to be 231. Okay, but we have to also notice that in our for loop we have A and B. Okay, it's like a pair, but we can use A and B if we have as input Bitcoin or Dash or this coin decreed, but we cannot use if we have Bitcoin SV, for example. We should use another pair, which is E and F. Okay, so we need to find a way in order to switch in between pairs based on the input that we get. Okay, so the first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a container array which will have all the arrays. I'm going to have array A, B, C, D, E, and F. Okay, then this is the syntax here. For example, container, if you want to access this specific array, you can do container 0, 0. If you want B, container 1, 0. If you want F, you can do container 5, 0. Then what I have here, this is the coins id last pair arrays. Okay, let's say the code that you have. Okay, let me just copy the entire code and put it, okay, and put it here. Okay, so the code that you have here, var coins id last array pairs, that's what I represent in a form of table here. Okay, I have the coin, I have the length here. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to basically define what I should have as pairs for each one of these coins. Okay, so I'm going to have A and B, that pair, if it is decreed, right? I'm going to have the same thing here, same thing here. But I'm going to have C and D if it is Binance coin or chain link. I'm going to have E and F if it is Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin SV or Cosmos, this coin. Okay, this is the condition. Now I'm going to replace the array A by the syntax. I'm going to have, instead of having container instead of having array A, I'm going to have this one. Okay, container 0, 0. I'm going to do the same thing for array B, and same thing for C, same thing for D, same thing for E, and F. I'm gonna have container 5, 0. Great, so I just replaced with the proper syntax. Now what you can observe here is, for if you try to access these arrays from the container, the second brackets, it is all the time 0. Okay, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. But the first part is, it is changing from 0 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so what I'm going to do, instead of having 0 here, I'm going to have a variable which will have that value. Okay, so I'm going to have here, for example, x. That's a variable that I'm creating. It will be equal to 0. Okay, so instead of having 0 at this level on the first one, in the first bracket, I'm going to have x. Okay, so that's this one is equal to A now, because x is equal to 0. And now I have here 1. So how I can change it? Because x is equal to 0, I'm going to do just x plus 1. Okay, which is now, it is going to be 1 now. So this syntax, when x is equal to 0, we are accessing A and B. Right? So I'm going to apply the same thing for the rest of the coin that I have. So these ones, and also these ones. Okay, but this time here, x, it will be equal to 2. Okay, container 2, 0, it is C. Container 3, 0, 2 plus 1 here is going to be D. So the same logic for the remaining coins that we have here. And this time x, it will be equal to 4. right? So I'm gonna have x either 0 or 2 or 4 depending on the group of the coin that I have here. So depending on the coins that I have here, I should change the value that I will have in the x variable. So how I can do that? One of the ways to do that is having another array inside our coins id last array pairs. So I can have a third one, so that's going to be in this 2, and I'm going to have these values. Instead of, I'm going to have here 0, then 0 here, and then 0 here. I'm going to have here 2, 2, and then 4, 4, and then 4. Okay, so you know how you can access these values, right? So you just need to use this coin id last array variable. Okay, this is an array, so all you need to do is take this code, let's say this variable, I'm going to replace it like this. Okay, the first one is going to be 2, that's the index that we have right here, and the second part, for example, what do you have here? Here I'm going to have k. Why k? Remember that we have a for loop which is executing the entire code based on a condition, and it goes from k equal to 0 to k7. Okay, 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. And if I have dash, so I will have a certain syntax which is actually going to verify if I have a dash as coin or not, and then k will have a certain value. Let's say in that if I have dash, k will be equal to 1, and then 2k coins id last pairs, 2k is going to be 0. Okay, so if if you take the value from here and we are sending it to the x variable, x will be equal to 0 as well. Now automatically I will have the right pair here. Okay, I'm gonna have container 0 0, container 1 0, which is actually a and b. So in this way we can actually switch in between pairs. Okay, so what we have done, we have just did it in our table, everything we have changed it, we have put all these values. Now let's write it in terms of JavaScript code, everything that we have done here. So the first thing, I'm going to create this container which will have all our arrays, so which I have actually here. So I'm gonna just copy and then put it in my code. Okay, so I'm gonna put it right here. Okay, I have the container with all these arrays a, b, c, d, e, and f. The second thing, I'm gonna add the third array into my var coins id last array pair. Okay, so I'm gonna have it right here. Okay, so that's the second thing. The third thing is we are going to have the var x variable, which will be equal to that what we have written before. Okay, so I'm gonna write here var and x equal to coins id last array pairs 2k. Great. So now we have to also change the code in the for loop level. Okay, we have a and b, and we need to actually change here. We cannot have a, we have to have the syntax that we have already created. Okay, we have it for that. Okay, now we know how we can access array a or c or e. Okay, so we are going to use that in our code. Okay, so instead of having a, we're going to have container. So let's first focus on the first loop, coin arrays length. So what is that? So if it is Bitcoin, I'm gonna have to look for the length that I have in the coin arrays. Okay, so I mean now we have pairs, so we don't need to look right here. Okay, because depending on the coin that we get, we don't have the same length. Okay, we have e, which is equal to, the length is going to be 1 2 3 4 5. So this one is 6, this one is 8. So we cannot use the length for that we have for the coin arrays, which is fixed. So we need to use a length which is actually going to change based on the input. Okay, so we need to have either the length of a, either the length of c, either the length of e. So instead of having coin arrays length here, I'm gonna have container, okay, brackets. The first one I'm gonna have here x, the second one is going to be 0, and then dot length. Why? If you try to imagine the whole thing here, in order to understand why I'm using this code, let's say we have Bitcoin as an input, okay? So if you have Bitcoin as an input, try to calculate what you should have on the x variable. What is the value that I'm going to have? 0, right? That's what I have mentioned here. It's going to be coins. X will be equal to coins last array 2k. K, what is the value of k? So if I go back into the table here, k will be equal to 0, okay, to 0, okay. So in my for loop, I will be on the first bar k equal to 0, and then I will have here 2 coins id last array pairs 20, it is equal to 0. That's what I have in here. So x will be equal to 0, which means container 0 0. In container 0 0, it is the array a, okay. Then x, it will be always either 0, either 2, either 4, right? So I'm gonna have either here container 0 0 or 2 0 or 4 0, depending on the coin that I get. If it is 2 0, I'm looking at the array C, where I'm going to get the length, which is equal to 6, okay. If it is Cosmos, for example, the last coin, it is going to be E here, okay. So that's, I hope now you understood why we changed from coin arrays to this, okay. Now let's do for the second for loop. So what we want here, we want the value that we are having here in the var a array, okay. We have 245, and then it is going to change because we have a as a variable into the bracket, so it's going to be 245, again 245, and then 240. In case we have Bitcoin, we can have a, but if we have other coins, we have to have either C or E. So the same logic here, I'm going to just take the first part of the code, which is actually going to allow me to switch in between arrays. So it's going to be either A, C, or E. Then what I want the first value, so I'm going to have another bracket, okay, where I'm going to have to put here a variable, and this time is going to be A, okay. So A, because we will go through this these values, okay. If it is C, we will have A equal to 0, equal to 1, and then so on, okay. So this is how we are basically defining our arrays in our loop, okay, which array you should choose based on the input. And the last thing, not the last thing, but we have also something else to do here, is the code that we have in the history array. We have I plus B, okay. We cannot have B all the time. So what is the logic? So if I have A, I should have B. If I have C, I should have D. If I have E, I should have F, right? So if I have A here, it is going to be container X. Let's say it's container X0A. So what I should have here is container X plus 1, and that's it. The same code, just I'm going to have, instead of X, I'm going to have X plus 1, which is actually going to access the other part of the pair, okay. So I'm going to just take this code, up, and then paste it here. So it can be either B or either D or either F, okay. That's it. Sorry, I haven't put here the plus 1. I'm gonna have plus 1 and then plus 1. Great. So now we have to do one more thing. We have our code which is like 99% done. we have one thing need to be done is how to collect those values. We are collecting those values, but we have to use it in our flow. So in our flow, as we have some inputs, in our action step, in the parse step, we have some inputs. We're going to have some outputs, the outputs variables where we are going to have this data. So we have to create some outputs variable. So I'm going to just copy paste the variable that I have already here. Outputs.coinArray A will be equal to coinArray A, and then the same thing for all other arrays. So I'm going to just take this code here and then paste it right here. This is highly important why I am putting the code at this point, not anywhere else. Okay, so we have to reimagine a little bit, okay, that we have a for loop. Okay, let's go back here in the table here. You have the first a equal to 0, and then you start a for loop. Okay, I equal to 0, and it's going along this numbers. Okay, and at each iteration you're collecting some data. Okay, you're accessing the history array in the response body, and you're taking that data and you're putting into the coin object. Okay, but at that specific moment as well, you're storing it into that specific cell, right? That's what we have right here, the third line, this line of the code. If I go here, make it bigger here, okay, this line. Okay, you create the object and then you put that on that specific cell for that specific array. Okay, so once you're done with the entire loop here, before going for the second one, you have all the data in your coin array A. So you are just transferring at that moment, hey, I have coin array A now, let's put it in the output variable now. Okay, then go for the second loop. So that's what we are doing right here logically. So we are done with the first loop. Okay, and then we have obviously we're gonna have coin array filled with data, this one, and then we are putting it in the output variable. Okay, but these are our empties. Okay, at that moment specifically. Then we are going to have var equal to 1. We are going to the second loop, and then this time it is going to fill the data into the coin array B. Okay, and we will put the data when we will have the data right here, and then put it in the output variable. Okay, notice the difference. This is coin array arrays, this is coins array A, is totally different variable, so you have to be clear on that. So coin arrays A, these are output variables that we are going to use in our steps, okay, that we can use later on in the data source. That's why we need to do that here. Okay, so it's going to do for all coins we're going to get for until edge if it is Bitcoin. But if it is another coin, let's say it is Chainlink or Cosmos, we don't need as many arrays, so it's going to stop at a certain moment. It's going to either stop at F or E or something like this, right? Depending on how many number we need. So 1 2 3, this is 5, so it's going to be 1 2 3 4 5 E. It's going to stop, for example, for Cosmos at E. So the last array, it will put the values, it's going to be coin array E, and these arrays will be empty. So that's not going to cause any problem for us. It's going to be simply, it's going to be like we will not have any data there. That's it. Okay, now we are done with the scripting part. So what we are going to do next is we are going to create our REST request and also put our code and then see if we get the result. That's it. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.